Hi guys, hope you're all alright. Today we're going to be looking at sorting out some rooms and drawing some text for our score. So the first thing that we need to do, like always, is to get our sprites in. So we're going to right click on sprites, create, and head down to sprite. And we're going to call this SBR underscore start, short for start screen. And then we're going to import our start screen, but I've got two here, so I'm selecting both so that they both come into here. And the first thing you'll notice is that if I play this through, it's going to be way too quick. So if I pause that, set this to middle center, and then go to 2 frames per second in the top left of this sprite. And then I'm going to do the same to get in our end screen. So I'm going to right click on sprites, create, and sprite, and then I'm going to call this SBR underscore end. Again, short for end screen, and I'm going to bring this in as the end screen. And again, just like before, I'm going to select both and bring them in, middle center, and then change the frames per second to 2. What you'll notice on both of these is that if I go to the start screen first, that I've got some controls and things like that. So I've got the mouse for aim, left click for shoot. If I wanted another bullet in that hits a bit harder, I'd select right click. I'm going to set it to the right click, which I will do off camera. But you guys already have a bullet for that, and all you would need to do is set it to hit a bit harder in the HP variable. So I'm going to close both of those now. Although on the sprite end screen you'll notice that it already says score. You'll need that for a little bit later. So if I close that, I need to set some rooms now. So if I open up my rooms, you can see that room 1's there, and I just need to change the name of that. So if I rename it to RM underscore game. And the reason for that is so that we can navigate through our rooms a bit more easily. And then I'm going to create a new room. So for room 2, I'm going to call this RM underscore start for the start screen. And then I'm going to do the same and create a second room for, a third room for RM underscore end. And those are going to be my start and end screen. Before I go any further with those, we need to make sure that these are in the right order. So if I click on room game and then select this down 1, it will go underneath the room start. So room start will be the first room that opens when we run our game. Okay, so now we need to get our backgrounds in here. So if I go to room start first, we want to head to our background layer on the left hand side, click on there. And then we can set our sprite to SBR underscore start. And then you'll notice that the grid goes a little bit further. So we need to change the resolution to fit this a bit nicer. So we're going to change it to 1280 by 720, which is a HD ready resolution. Okay. So it's not quite full HD, but it is a high definition resolution. And then we need to do the same for our RM underscore end. So we're going to go to backgrounds, select the SBR underscore end, and then we're going to change the resolution to 1280 by 720. And now that we've got all of that, we need to create a new object, but we're not going to have a sprite on this object. So first things first, we're going to right click on objects, create, and go down to object. Now that we've got this, the first thing that we want to do on here is a bit different to what we would do on other objects. All we need to do is click this button here. And the reason for that is so that it works throughout all of our rooms, all of our game rooms. And then we're going to call this obj underscore game. And then again, before we do anything, we're going to head over to our RM underscore start, and we're just going to drag it into the top left corner, making sure that we're on our instances layer over here. Right, So now we can go back to our object game and get down to setting the score and being able to move between rooms. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is add a create event. The reason for this is we want to set the score to 0. So we're going to set the score in here. So we need to find the set score action, not set draw color. We don't need that. And then if we scroll down a bit, we'll find an instance variables tab with set score as the first one in there. And now that we've got that, we want to be able to move between rooms. And we need, like what it says on our SBR_start, on our second frame of it, it says press E to start. So we're going to set this to key pressed E. Right, now there are going to be 2 actions that we use here that you won't have seen before. And the first of those is switch. So this is going to set a switch depending on which room we're in. So we're going to have to change the value to room so that it's working off of the room, if I can spell that is. Okay, so we've got rooms in there, and then the other action that we're going to need is a case. So we're saying the switch is going to work on the rooms, but it's going to work in the case of being in room_start. So if we're in room_start, we want to be able to, if we press E in that room, we want to go to the game room. So if we type in go to room in the actions toolbox and drag this in, making sure that we drag it in on the right hand side of the case action, and then set this to rm_game, then we will automatically go there. Another thing to note here is that we want another set score, and we just want it just above our go to room. So we want to make sure that we're resetting the score going into that room in case it's followed through from the last time it was played. And then we need a second case in here. So if we drag another case in, and this time we want this to say rm_end. And then the reason for this is because we want to be able to restart the game if we're in the game over screen, essentially, and we want to just find that action in here. It is good to know as well that if we go back to our object player, we also have a restart game once we get hit by an enemy. So we actually want to get rid of this, and we want to set this to go to room, and the room being the room end. Okay, so that should work pretty easily. If I test it, everything should be in working order. Right, so it's up on here, press E to start, but I'm still not getting score, but we're going to sort that out in a moment. Okay, and then it's taking us to the end screen, and then restarting the game once we're in that end screen and press E again. Okay, so if we head back to our object game now, we want a draw event, and the specific draw event that we want is a draw GUI. So this is essentially making a heads-up display or a HUD. And just like before, we want switches and cases. So we want a switch working off our rooms, and then we want to add a case into there. So in the case that we're in rm_game, we want to draw some text. So the text that we want to draw is the score. So we're going to go draw instance score. So we're going to put that into there, and we're going to leave the caption in there. But we need to position this correctly within the room. So I want it to be at the top of my screen and in the middle. So I'm putting 640 because that's half of the size of the room that we're going to be in. And then I want it to be 64 pixels below the top of the screen. Right, so now that I've got that, I can add another case. And then again, I just want the same draw instance score in there. But this time, because I already have score on that sprite that I showed you earlier, that I told you to remember about, we're going to get rid of the text in there, and then we're just going to put 640 For me, this will be 400, depending on how you've set up your your end screen. Yours might be slightly different. So I've got 640 by 400, and this is going to be setting the score in there. So I have already made a font, which I'm going to get rid of, and I'm going to show you how to create a font for yourself. So I'm going to right click on fonts, create and font, and then I'm going to set this to be font underscore score. And then you can change all of this however best you want to. So I'm going to change mine to stencil because it fits the other text within my game. So we've passed it, and there it is. And then I'm going to set the size to about 52. So it's nice and big at the top of the screen. And then we just need to head back to our object game. So we want to set font in here. We want to align the font so it's not off to the one side or anything like that. And then we want to set the font color. And to do that, we want draw. And then we want to set font in there, just above the draw instant score. I want to set that to the font that we've just created. Once we've got that, we need to align it. So we need to set the text alignment. And in here, we want it to be center on the horizontal alignment. And then we want it to be middle in the vertical alignment. So that's going to be nice and central to where we've placed this instead of off to one side. And then we want the color. So set draw color, and then we're just going to leave that as it is. So we're going to leave it as white and using the alpha. Okay, so now that we've got that, if I test it, we'll see that we can go in. We've got score up here, but it's not going to give us any score for killing any of those. And nothing's going to come up here. So we need to make sure that we're getting some score every time we kill one of the enemies. So we're going to head over to our object enemy. And then we're already in the step event, which is nice. And then all we want in here is a set score. I'm going to scroll down a bit to find it. And we're going to drag it to the right hand side of this if variable. It will come underneath the destroy instance, but we could just drag that destroy instance underneath. And I want my the people who play this game to gain 50 points on each kill of the of one of those aliens, and we want that to be relative, so it keeps ticking up each time you get a kill. And then we're going to apply this to a different instance. So we're going to apply this to our object game, because our object game is the one that's handling all of this. It's handling the score, it's handling the rooms, and things like that. So that's where we want it to all be going back to. And now if I play, we should get a nice increase in score every time we kill. But the issue is we can only get a score of 150 points if we were to finish. It's not showing in here for some reason, so we probably have missed something. Yeah. So the only thing that we've missed here is the constant in the case, and that needs to be room underscore end. And now it should work nicely. Just test it. So 50, 100, and there we go. A score of 100 in there, which is nice. So that's all working. But as I said a moment ago, we can only get a high score of 150 with 3 enemies in. So next week, in your next tutorial, we will be covering how to get a spawner into our room game. To spawn these enemies in, as opposed to dragging different iterations of or instances of that enemy in. And that's all for this tutorial. Yeah. Alright guys, remember to save your work, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial and in your lesson.